Let us start with a new reading. In this reading, we are going to discuss how other people see you. Okay, so you can pick your pile. This will be the first, second, and third pile, and accordingly, you can pick your pile as per your intuition. The pile to which you are most attracted to, you can pick it. Okay, let's start with this pile. Okay. And okay, so as per this pile, I can see that people see you with a lot of options. It can be in terms of money, it can be in terms of relationships. And I can see that in both cases, people see you as a person who has a lot of options. You are very well settled in your career and you have a lot of connections. You have either made a lot of connections or you are always surrounded with people. It can be also possible that you are a person who has a fan following. You can be a celebrity, you can even become a celebrity in future, or you have a lot of fan following. It can be through YouTube, it can be through Instagram, or you are connected to a lot of people. You have a lot of friends. You have a very big friend circle, it is also possible. And you have a very big family and you have very close connection to each and every person who is around you. And I can see that it is because that you have good communication skills and you try to be in connected with the people around you. You are very helpful. You are always seen as a person who is always ready to offer his or her help to the people who are in need. And that is why people like to stay around you and people like to take advice from you. When people are losing hope from their lives, they are the ones who look up to you. They come to you, they take your advice, they take your guidance. And you can also be seen as a person who is very who keeps who be in touch with the people around you. You take care about the people around you, the people who are very close to you. You are the person who is always taking care of the people around you through your efforts. You are providing your financial and emotional assistance to the people who want it. You can even be the person who is doing charity of some sort. So you have a lot of connections and you are always taking care of those connections. The people with whom you get connected to, you are the ones who never leave their side at any cost, in any situation, in any circumstance. And people also see you as a person who has faced a lot of troubles in his or her life. And the wealth that you have created, you are the person who is a person who is a good manager of his or own money, own finances. You are the person who always takes care of your finances. And whenever there is a problem, you can be consulted. You are the person who gives very good financial and career and relationships related advice to the people around you. Okay, and it can be also seen that you have a love connection, you are in relation with someone, but it may or may not be true because you are connected to a lot of people. So it you have a lot of options, a lot of people are connected to you. So when we are looking at you from far, when people are looking at your life, they assume that you may be having a love connection because a lot of people are connected to you. Everyone around you are praising you in some way or another for your good deeds, and it is assumed that you have a love connection, which may not be true in reality. You are the person who is always seen as fighting. You are always fighting, you are facing challenges, but you are never giving up on it. You are fighting and moving ahead in your life. Whenever people meet you, you are the person who give them hope. You are the person who give them hope even if your own situation is not very good. So this thing is commendable. People appreciate you for the way you live your life, for the struggles that you are facing or you have faced in your life, and even after facing so much struggle, you are such a humble person. So that is why people always be in connected, be in touch with you. There are very few or no people who have any kind of grudges or any kind of conflicts, any kind of bad or negative experience with you, because you are such a good person. You always do good to others. You always look at the glasses that are full, and you also motivate the people around you to look at the glasses, look at the opportunities, or look at the things that they have right now. You are the person who are living in the current moment, and you are motivating the people around you to live in the current moment, to enjoy the ups and downs of lives, because ups and downs are going to come and go. The only thing is you have to take care of your mental and physical health, and that is the advice that you are giving to others. It can also be seen that many people have your love interest in you. Many of the people of opposite sex have love interest in you, but uh, maybe they have communicated to you, and you are the person who is not ready for this love going into love relationship right now. But you have many options, and it will depend upon you if you want to select uh, your person. You have to select your person based upon your intuition, based upon your decision making. But you will be having a lot of love connections and love interest. Okay, because you are connected to people and you have a lot of connections. So that was your reading. I hope you liked it. Let's move to the next pile. So as per this pile, I can see that you have faced a lot of toxicity in your life. Okay, it is possible that you have faced a lot of toxicity in your life, and people see you as a person who has suffered a lot in terms of personal relationships, but still you were able to win in all situations. You were able to defeat the people who are jealous of you and who were cheating you. You were able to come out of all the negative situations, all because of that toxicity, that toxic relation that was one or more than one that were there in your life. But you somehow managed to get over it. You somehow managed to cut ties with that person. That person was very close to you, but still you managed to cut ties and create your own life with your own hard work. Okay, you did a lot of hard work for creating your own life. So people see you as an inspiration. They know that if they are going to do bad to you, you will be the person who will not take any kind of revenge. Instead, you are going to focus on your own um, strength. You will focus on your own skills, and you will make your own life. You'll be always focused. People see you focused on your own well-being. You consider your own mental peace first, and rather than any kind of toxicity, you are the person who never take revenge, who is never, you take stand for yourself, but you are not taking any kind of revenge. to the people who are cheating you. You know that it's life and you are going to meet people who are good for you and who are bad for you, and you have to make a choice. You have to make your decision. You have to analyze whether the person in front of you is good and bad. And the power of cutting that connection is in your hands. Always it is in your hands. And even now, people see you being connected to the people who are not good for you, but you have created solid boundaries that you can't cross and they can't cross. And this is the thing that is working for you right now. You are getting you are able to maintain your personal peace, your mental peace. You are managing your life situations in the best possible manner, and you are the person who don't even require any kind of guidance and monitor any kind of mentoring with from the person outside, from like a third eye perspective from the person, for from any kind of, you don't require any kind of counseling, any kind of guidance to manage your life circumstances. You are the person who can manage everything that is coming into your life, whether it is good and or whether it is bad. Okay, you have faced a lot of situations and circumstances in your life, in your personal life or family life, and that has made you a very solid person who know what to do and how to manage and take care of yourself in any kind of situation. It hurts sometimes to face negative situations and deal with negative people, because it drains a lot of our good energy. A lot of our good energy is drained, and continuously when we are facing heartbreaks, then we don't even want to move ahead in life. Sometimes we get stuck. But in any kind of situation, you are the person who is able to manage all these situations, who is able to again and again come out from these toxic cycles, and people see you as inspiration. They come up to you, they look up to you, they consult you when they are facing problems, especially in their personal life, because they know that you have faced depression or you have battled with your own self. These negative thoughts, these negative thinking, these that has developed in you over time because of the negative relationships that you have faced in your life, and because of that you have come out of that negative toxic cycle. You have even won a battle with yourself. There was negative thinking process that you were that was in your mind because of the things that you have experienced in the past. Whenever we are facing negative experiences again and again, then we think that maybe we will get a negative outcome. Then we start thinking bad about ourselves, we start criticizing ourselves, we start judging ourselves, because again and again when we are getting heartbreaks from the person whom we are trusting, then we at there is a point comes in our life when we start even questioning ourselves, our efforts. Okay, and this phase you have also battled with, and you have won this phase of life with yourself. Okay, so you have become a very solid person right now. People see you as an inspiration, and they look up to you, that you have managed each and everything. You are spiritual person, you always trust God, and you think that no one is above that God, and God is always there with you to support you and uh, take you out from any kind of mishappening or bad situation or bad relation, toxic relation. uh, and you are the one who can face any kind of situation in your life. The people who are jealous of you and who criticize you, judge you, they do it. They judge you, they criticize you for a particular period of time, and after that they don't have any option other than leaving you, other than moving on with their paths, because you are the person who is able to either cut off that connection, or you have the strength to prove them wrong. It takes time to prove them wrong, but you focus on your own efforts. You focus your energy on making your own life. You have made your own life from zero, and even when you were making your own life. You are the person, you have faced those negative connections and you have managed to make your life and cut connections with the people who are not good with you, who are not good for you. You are currently in connection to the people, but you know your limits, they know their limits, and you have created your own life. So people also know that you, it will be very easy for you to cut connections with the people around you, because you don't need any kind of emotional support from anyone. You have yourself made that emotional support, and you are getting that peace and strength from within you. It can be a result of meditation, or it can be a result of uh, getting in touch with, or getting making a strong bond of trust with God. Okay, so this is, you have some power, you can do anything in your life. You can even walk alone, you are not afraid to walk alone if nobody is there to support you. Okay, so people see you as an inspiration, they come to you, they take advice from you, and they want to stay connected. Even your, the people who have once criticized you and judged you, now want to stay in connected to you and make a good, establish a good bond of friendship or relationship with you, because they know that you can manage everything. So they don't want to judge or criticize you. They are loser right now, they are seen as a loser right now, and they just want to stay in touch with you because they have realized that they were wrong and you were right, and still they judge you, criticize you. So they are regretting. You make your enemies regret of the things that they did to you, with the efforts and hard work you put for creating your own life. So this is how you have been seen. So people even try to be your friend, they try to stay in connection to you. Because they know that they can't do anything wrong to you. You will be the person who will always take stand for yourself. You are never afraid to cut connections with the people who are gossiping, who are criticizing you, who don't know your worth. So that is why people look up to you, and people want to stay in connection to you. They want to take your guidance, and they want to genuinely become your well-wisher, because they know that they can't do anything bad to you in any possible manner, because you are the person who is very wise, very intellectual, very intelligent, and you can come out from any situation in your life. And the person who is rising in terms of money, in terms of relationships, people always look up to that person and they want to stay connected to that person. Okay, so people this is how people see you and look up to you. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this reading. Now let us start with the next reading. Okay, so as per this reading, I can see that people see you as the person who always support right persons, right situations, that you always take stand for the people who are right. You first decide what is right and what is wrong, and then whenever two people are doing conflict, you will first see who is right and who is wrong, and the person who is right, you are going to take stand for that person. And you are never afraid to put your opinions in front of everyone. That is the thing that most people can't do right now. So this is the thing that is noticed by other person. You are the person who manage your relationships very well, the person who gets once connected to you, will be the person who will always stay connected to you. You will make sure you are putting efforts to make that relationship work. Okay, and you are the person who is always um, fighting for yourself. You are taking stand for yourself, you are taking stand for others. Maybe this can be your profession as well. You could be a lawyer, okay, or you are the person who is always giving preference to right. You are doing right to others. You first yourself, even when you are talking to others, when you are doing your actions towards others, you think what is right, what is wrong. You analyze everything, and yet you try to be fair to everyone. And that is the thing that is appreciated. If you are owner of business, you are the person who always makes sure that nothing bad is happening to the employees with whom you are working, in terms of money, in terms of the way they are treated in your organization, which is very uh, appreciated by your employees. Okay, you are the person who have a lot of courage. You can even walk alone. You are the person who can walk alone, and you are seen as a leader. You are the person who is managing a bunch of people. Either you are the person who is the head of your family, or you are head of your own business or your own company, and you are managing the people of that organization very well. The people of those organization, or your family members, if it is in your family, people look up to you. um, you are the person who has who takes all the decisions of your family, and you are the person who is managing all the circumstances of your life. And if in terms of business, you are the person who are managing the people who are working uh, below you, and you are the person who are taking all the decisions of the organization in which you are working. So you are at a leadership position, either in your life or in career or both, and you are managing it very well. People are appreciating by the by seeing the courage that you have, the way and the hard work and dedication that you are putting into the task that are at your hand right now, into the decisions that are at your hand right now, the way you are taking decisions of your life or in your career or both. It is commendable. You are the person who is never afraid to say wrong to others. If they are doing wrong to you or the people you love, you are the person who say it on the face, what is right, what is wrong, and what the other person is doing. You make sure that the person who is doing wrong knows, the person who is doing wrong to others gets punished, either by god, either by you. Okay, you are the person who is always against injustice. So you try to prevail, fairness. You want fairness in everything, fairness in pay, fairness in relationships. Everything should be fair. Fairness in terms of gender, whether it is men and women, you treat everyone equally. Whether the person is having lot of money or not, you treat everyone equally. The way you will talk to a person who is not who is poor and rich will be same. The way you will treat a person who is poor and rich is same. So people get motivated by the way you treat others, by the way you lead your life. Okay, it can be in terms of the way you are leading your life. Okay, and people see you that you have seen a lot of heartbreaks in your life, or you have suffered from depression, either in terms of your career or in terms of your relationship. And it was very difficult for you to move on in your life, but you have gathered that strength and courage, and you have made the life that in which you have everything. Okay, you have started from zero and you have created that life, and you know that when people are alone, when they are criticized and judged at their lowest, how they feel. And whenever people are not treated right, how they feel, what happens to them, what kind of scars or wounds they have, and they suffer from in entire lifetime because of those bad experiences that they have faced, because of the mistreatment that they got either in their career or in their personal relationships. So you are strongly against it. Okay. And you can be seen as a person who is always taking care of the people around you. Your actions are right, your way of speaking is right, you always say the things that are right, you are blunt, you can be seen blunt, you can be seen that the person as a person who says whatever comes into his or her mind. But you are the person who analyze what to say to the person in front of you. If that person is wrong, you are going to say things that he or she is doing without any kind of flattering. You do flattering, but you do flattering of the people who are your actual well wishers, and you have that intuition. You can sense the people who are good for you and who are bad for you, and you can even sense it for your family members, for your friends, the people who are good for them and bad for them. Okay. So you are the person who can be seen as a person from which we can seek advice in terms of life, in terms of relationships, in terms of the people that we are dealing with and how to deal with them. Okay. And you can also be a lawyer, as I have already mentioned. And whenever we are facing you any kind of whenever people are facing any kind of depression or depressing stage, or when they are at their lowest, they can connect to you, and you are the person who will always give and spread positivity to those people. Once they have contacted to you, they will be the person who will gain that courage and strength from you to move on in their life, to not give up in any kind of situation and any kind of circumstance. Even if people, I can see that people are uh, motivating other people who are at their lowest by telling your story to them, the way you impacted their lives. Okay. So this was your reading. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching. Like, share and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.